This is the Digital Shelf Insider podcast of Metriscart. Hi all, welcome back to the Digital Shelf Insider podcast of Metriscart. I'm your host Shreshta, and today we are joined by two of the folks from Public Label. It's Morgan McAlenney. He is the Vice President of Commerce, Growth and Business Development there. And McCord Chapman, he is the Vice President of Commerce and Omnichannel Planning. Morgan has joined us before. We were doing an audio format back then. It was one of our earlier episodes, and I'm very excited to have both of them join us today. We are going into the holiday season, predictions of what's new this year and how consumer behavior is shifting. And it's a very interesting topic, and it will be very valuable for our audience as well. So let's get started. Hello. Hi, Morgan. Hi, McCord. How are you both doing today?
Wonderful. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, appreciate the invite back.
Thank you so much for taking out the time to join today. Morgan, for the second time, and McCord, welcome to the podcast. So I have a few questions around how the holiday season is going to evolve this time around in 2025. And we're recording this episode about a month before the holiday season. So it's probably going to be predictions and wild guesses. Let's see how that goes. My first question is around the consumer behavior. Like, how is it gonna be this year, and especially with how TikTok and all the social platforms are doing?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting this year as a whole because of the economic uncertainty. The shifts is definitely going to be kind of a new perspective on just how the e-com stuff comes to life in a lot of ways. I think we're getting back to more of a confidence, and we're kind of taking a different turn on that. So we've gone from COVID to getting to a more confident economy to now to potentially more uncertainty. So I think it's going to be a really interesting thing to see. But with timing, with shopping starting earlier, it's really, I also think, going to be about not only spreading budget, but a lot of times people and consumers are used to thinking, hey, these holiday, the offers around the holiday are going to be the most valuable. But this year with tariffs coming on, things like that, I think there's also some additional uncertainty into, well, actually, is that holiday price going to be cheaper than it is right now? And so people are planning out more because of the uncertainty, but also they're more likely to jump on other pricing now because they're not sure where it's going to be in a month or two, even if it is on sale for the holidays.
Yeah, the thing that I'm really wrestling with, this is more conceptual or strategic in nature than it is like tactical or implementable. But the new holiday season is like starting pretty much immediately. I was driving home from the airport last night, and I saw Halloween decorations out. And it's still going to be 85 degrees here and sunny today. So it doesn't feel like Halloween. It doesn't feel like the holidays at all. But the holidays have moved forward in terms of how people are celebrating / demonstrating their interest in the holidays. It reminds me a little bit of the good old days of television, where it was appointment TV. Every Thursday night at 8 o'clock, you'd watch Friends on NBC. And now, in the world of streaming, you can binge an entire season or an entire series sort of on demand. So holiday shopping has become sort of, I think, on demand. There isn't this, like, at least on the consumer side of the fence, as much of a pent up appointment buying. You know, certainly there are Prime Days and Black Friday and things like that. But with Halloween decorations in my neighborhood already, and the fact that we're talking on September 9th about holiday shopping, the world continues to change and morph and evolve in different ways. The final point I'll just sort of punctuate with is, like, depending on the category of product that you're looking for over between now and the holidays, whether you're buying for someone else, for yourself, the medium, if you will, is really interesting, because my kids will buy things on TikTok and save them for a later date. So that's like a version of holiday shopping, right? Like, they're not actually buying me anything on TikTok. They're buying themselves something on TikTok and saving it for a later date. So watching how that changes holiday shopping will be really interesting to me. Sorry about the long monologue there.
Well, I love that you just brought that up, because one of the other pieces about the social commerce is really that especially with the younger generation has kind of shifted the mindset. It's like, we think of on-site and off-site for display and things where, you're on-site, you're in the mindset, you're shopping, you're looking, and that's, a fundamentally different mindset for, I would assume most of us, but, for Morgan's kid, when they're scrolling on TikTok, are they in a shopping mindset, or are they just always in a shopping mindset because they've been bombarded with stuff all their life? So I think it's less of a shift for them, that younger generations are more used to just constantly being open to a purchase decision and a purchase opportunity. Whereas, I don't even want to say the older of us, the ones of us who are not, who are above 25 are more likely to plan and think about it more as a long-term piece. It kind of goes with the instant gratification element of it all too.
Yeah, the TikTok thing and the mindset thing is an interesting one, right? Like if I'm watching, so my kids are not even kids. They're actually like, one is over 18 and one is about to be 18, right? They're like adults, but I think of them as kids, right? And when they're on the TikTok or any of the phone-based things, they're not in shopping mode. They're in content consumption mode. And then something, either an influencer or a piece of content, creates sort of that spark, like, I should buy now. And so, like, McCord and I, we grew up and sort of call it shopper marketing.
Yeah.
It's tough to analyze the need states, the behavior mindsets, etc., in this new agitated, always on environment.
Absolutely.
The one piece I was going to add, I think that, the ultimate pieces with these new platforms, with these new options, with all of these tools, all of these, different ways to shop now, it's really about shoppers wanting control of their experience. I'm sure we'll get into that a little more with the AI piece. But starting earlier is something that the older generations can help make themselves feel more in control. Younger generations doing it on their platforms can make them feel more in control. So it kind of shifts that mindset also of who's controlling the decision. How do I feel that I was making the decision? Actually, I haven't explored much, but reading through this morning, I was thinking there might be something to, in opportunities of economic uncertainty, expanding occasions might be the best move, like moving holiday back to October, September. I was thinking about this earlier at a expo where I was talking about Halloween being in August. And in my mind, it's always, well, we need to expand occasions, or not expand occasions, add occasions, create new occasions. But actually, during a time when people are uncertain, they're not looking for more occasions. They're looking for support for the existing occasions they know they're going to need to cover down the line. So it's interesting that mindset could start earlier and could shift.
Very, very interesting. So I really like the points that you shared around how the older generations come from the shopper marketing era, and then the younger generations have the content consumption mode. And so we could also say that we have an informed lot of consumers right now, both the demographies and like you pointed out, there's the price sensitivity concerns and economic pressures that's building. What categories would we see having the strongest demand during this time, or categories that might slightly suffer?
I think the ones that are going to do well are, some of the higher margins, some of the ones where they can have a little more flexibility, and also their consumers are going to be less concerned about economics, like the electronics, affordable luxury, things like that are really pushing. But it's about prioritizing value, I think, more than actual price. So people are being more selective about what they focus on. So categories that feel more generic, whether that's clothing or maybe some home goods, things like that, are not going to be as prioritized, and certainly not for as a high end item, whereas the pieces that are bringing both a good value and a good experience, and that feels like a good fit, I think that's where it's going to be a balance. So it's not only about price, it's really about finding that perfect combination of price and value, or price and use.
Right.
No. I think on supply chain shifts, there will also obviously be a big change. I think items that are, whether accurately or not, seen as coming in from foreign countries, I think will have a bigger impact, because people will be thinking or assuming, hey, that price is up from what it previously was. So that's another piece. And actually, yeah, I think it's also the intersection of what's giftable and what's a treat, and something like, a TV, something like a luxury product that's good. It's almost feeling like it could be yours or it could be for someone else. So it's kind of hitting two of those psychological pieces at the same time. So there might be something to that too. But I do think grocery is still going to be a winner. I mean, it always is. It's going to continue, as that's kind of our core focus. That's really where people are going to spend their money first, as always. Some pricing, the amount may shift, but that's still going to be the prioritization. So I think that's where you'll see kind of the highest end and the lowest end is where the least impact will be.
Yeah, I think to McCord's point, on the shopper side of the equation, I think there's going to be a lot of mental gymnastics, mental math going into price, the actual price that I'm paying versus the value that I'm getting. If it's a food item, price per ounce or price per size. If it's a TV, comparing the price of a Panasonic versus an LG versus whatever other brand. I think price is going to be because of the political environment, the cultural political environment, at least in the United States. And so I think it's hard for me to, without delving into brands and research, predict which categories or brands will struggle or succeed. I think it's the ones that lean into, this is a highly analytical shopping season, where past shopping seasons might not be as analytical. It's like I respond better to pretty pictures and colors than I do price. This year I think price is going to be a big deal.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to balance the justification, I think, between the emotional and the functional. It's going to be more, or the price versus experience, and I think the price is going to be a little more important this time. And actually, one thing we just had a recent acquisition of an Amazon agency that's really increased our e-commerce capabilities and focus on some of the back end pieces. And they just had an Amazon holiday outlook, and one of the things that they pointed out is that places like Shine, Temu are expecting up to 70% less revenue from the US this holiday. So there's it's not just the product, but the fulfillment method and the places people are going, that's going to be significantly changed. And because they're not getting the cheapest goods from Shine or Temu, it's going to change how they're shopping here too.
Right. This conversation would be incomplete if we don't talk about AI, because it's taken over 2025 completely from the brand perspective or the shopper perspective. There are these AI trends, and it's changing the way shopper experiences have evolved. How is going to impact product discovery this year?
I think there's a certain level of trust that I think is going to be the most important piece. I won't get through my broader thoughts on some AI stuff. I don't want to go down a very deep rabbit hole. But it's the impact of having this twin, which I think twin is going to be an interesting term, because right now I think we're kind of facing you either fully trust and lean on AI or you don't. I don't think there's as much middle ground, certainly not as there should be, and not being promoted as much. So when we're all kind of building our own custom search engine through the algorithm, through using AI and training it, I think people are not consciously doing that. So they might not think about what information am I giving it? How am I shifting? How am I teaching it to shop for me? And there's the emotional and functional relationship that still needs to be made with a product. And I think one of the more interesting pieces we're going to see with AI is that, people are trusting their AI, or at least should theoretically will be trusting their AI more, but they're still looking for choice. They don't want to just be served, here's the option. It's the paradox choice, the overall piece where we've been talking internally a lot about the brand relationship journey in addition to the actual consumer journey. And, if the funnel, let's call it the tactical funnel, which, doesn't exist at this point, but if that's so compressed, they're still going to need to go through the relationship journey with the brand of awareness, consideration, purchase. They're going to need to justify it emotionally. So you are going to want that choice at the end. And it's really shifting trust from my own personal search engine to, Amazon, to Google, where those were essentially serving that purpose. Even if you were going to buy there or not, they were really being that, okay, well, I'm going to go and get a couple different options. It's going to show me a wide range. But this, now you're kind of trusting your model to show you a functional benefit. And then you get to choose, okay, which one fits me best. And that's, I think, really where the ultimate choice is going to come. It's, I think we're in a very interesting phase with shopping and ecom, because there is this, the choice paradox. It's about, keeping good friction in there. And I think we're at we're approaching the point where we're just going to be serving people what they want. There's not going to be any choice, and that's going to backfire. So I think we're in an interesting way where, are we going to evolve into more friction, less friction? And at what point does that flip from a benefit to well, actually, I don't want someone to just tell me what I'm supposed to buy. So it's interesting to see how the twins come into that.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And for me, like, my mind goes to, as a brand, there was sort of the advent of Google, and you had to figure out SEO and search it, ad links and sponsored links, etc. And then Amazon became a big deal, and you had to sort of do the same, figure out the Amazon media and SEO and content play. And now AI is here. And so the question is, how do you as a brand present yourself in a discoverability scenario? So if my daughter is looking for jogging shoes or running shoes, and she goes to ChatGPT instead of Amazon or Google, and she types in, I want super cozy pink running shoes for under $100 that'll last more than a year. What results does the AI serve up, and how do brands influence that? So I think we're at it's the beginning stages. I'm fairly certain my daughter actually doesn't use ChatGPT for that use case, but she's probably minutes or days or months away from figuring that out. She uses it for a lot of other things already. But that's just a simplistic example, right? And like, as you dig into how AI works and the different people that are doing the different things in AI, creating shopping agents, for instance, whether it's Walmart or Amazon, creating basically an assistant who's always on, looking for the things that assistant knows you want or need, right? At the best price, at the right moment, all of those things. So that is an agitated commerce future. And how brands win or lose, or how they win or lose market share or incrementality in that space, is going to be an interesting, exercise for agencies and brands to work on together.
Well, I do think the way I've been thinking about SEO for AI lately, or whatever you want to call it at the moment, is, we've been so focused on SEO on retail platforms, on Google, on all of this.
Yeah.
But I think really what it's going to come down to, things are going to need to be written more almost like prompts, like, how am I to get this thing to say what I want it to say to the right person?
Yeah.
But it's also going to almost be SEO is going to be almost broader digital relationship management. It's almost going to be like digital PR, because you've got to look at your Reddit threads, you've got to look at your reviews, you've got to look at everything. And it's far more than the retail piece. So it's a scale question, it's a concern, it's a constant testing question of going in AI every day practically and saying, hey, what do you think of this brand? Or what if I chose this category? What would you serve me? So there's really, I think the idea of SEO versus entirely like digital PR is going to be a very fascinating shift in the next few years.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I really like the point where you highlighted about the emotional functional benefits. I mean, I've never thought in that way, because consumers are not blind anymore. We wouldn't like look at traditionally how when Amazon started off that product pages, we wouldn't look at things right now that way. We want to look at it in a more informed manner. We are aware what we want more than ever. So the other question that I have is like, at this point, wherever AI is at, how exactly can brands strategize for product discoverability? We saw that even during Amazon Prime Day, the site traffic went up to 3,300% just with AI.
So I think that is kind of implementing this digital relationship management piece to a certain extent, because it's, you need to broaden your scope. I don't think it's going to kill everyone this year if they're not, perfectly prepared for AI SEO or anything like that. But it's something that, we're kind of in a middle ground where you need to prepare, you need to get ready for the future. And guess what? Holiday 2025, pretty good time to test some of those methods so that you can go into 2026, especially since we don't really know just how quickly this AI expansion is going to happen. I mean, it could be 6 months, it's completely overtaken Google. It could be 5 years, or maybe it never happens because of the, friction concerns or the trust concerns. But I think for this year, it is a great time to test. And I think waiting to test is potentially, deadly or detrimental to your experience in 2026.
There's a lot of first mover advantage, right? It's test and learn, because the gross amount of buying decisions or shopping decisions happening through AI channels is still sort of TBD. There might be resources out there that have some data, but it's nascent, it's early. It's going to accelerate, it's going to be fast, and it will change how brands have to go to market. But to McCord's point, let's dive in right now and let's play around literally this week and see what's moving the needle, and start learning from that and applying it into the holiday period. This is the type of thing, as we all know, brands in the brick and mortar world,
Right.
typically the big brands have to plan out 18 months their retail calendar, like at this supply chain effect, advertising, promotions, couponing, incentives, etc. Like it all takes time to plan and then execute. A portion of how they go to market takes less time, right? And playing around with, call it SEO for AI, and driving people to an Amazon product page or wherever, your own brand.com, to test and learn sort of how agentic shopping will happen in the future.
Yeah.
Not too distant future, would be really wise.
Yeah.
And I think the way the content is built is also an interesting way to look at it, because it has to be more organized. It has to be more machine learning, more prepared for machines to examine it. And this goes back to, are there going to be essentially two different internets, one on the back end for AI, one on the front end for us? And that, I think, goes back to the functional and emotional piece, because we need to be able to make sure that your product functionally passes the sniff test to even get through to an AI, that at least certainly an AI that someone trusts. Because, the paid search, all of that, you shouldn't be able to do that in AI in the future to make it truly impactful. But I think that's really where, is it a separation of the functional and the emotional decision? Do we talk to the machines like functional pieces, so that when someone gets to see the options, they feel, okay, I know these will all do what I need them to do. Now, which one feels like me? And is that a different piece, or is that a layer on top of it? And how do they relate to each other? I think there's really it's fascinating. There's a lot of fascinating shifts coming.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, even the way people query different environments, the way like, my daughter probably writes best running shoes on Google. And she writes, size 9, pink running shoes with super cozy, cushiony heels and will last over a year on ChatGPT, and so how do brands, the functionality of brands, the creativity of brands come through in the results that those queries lead to?
Actually, just the last piece on this, I think it's interesting. We've mentioned conversational commerce before. I think we've used it internally as, honestly, it's, it's their reputation management again. But really, conversational commerce, there's a way that it's almost going to be more about AI, because that is the interface of AI is conversation. So there's almost a conversational commerce piece to how you input things into AI in a conversation versus just, hey, I'm, size 9 running shoes, Brooks, whatever. I think that'll be an interesting piece too.
Yeah.
For sure. I have one last question for you both, and I'm sure this is quite valuable for the audience listening in. How should brands adapt their campaign timing, product strategy, and pricing to a more multi-channel shoppers time? And I think it comes down to testing and experimenting more this year than ever.
Yeah, ultimately, I think that's really what it is. We talked about, I think anyone who thinks they can predict what AI is going to do at the moment is wrong, or not, or shouldn't be as confident as many of them are, because I think the use cases are going to shift pretty dramatically. So I think that, plus the economic uncertainty, plus I just think the biggest thing is you should be open to doing something different. If you're stuck in your ways of, we're going to promote for the last, for the beginning of December, and we're going to push, our stuffing the second week of November for the first week, and then we'll deep it. Like, there's different ways to do it, but I think just going the traditional route in a year like this is that's what's going to be what's going to be the issue. I don't think anyone can tell you they have all the answers, but I think the ones that are going to get ahead are the ones who learn now how to do it properly versus waiting for others to figure it out. To Morgan's point earlier, the first mover advantage. And I think that's, we talked about you got to start now too. Like we talked about, like the season is starting now. You've got to look at your trade strategy. You've got to look at your promotion strategy and try to find gaps, try to find different places. I think we just need to we know category behavior is going to change significantly, and predicting that with all the variables that we don't know is risky, or predicting that confidently, I should say.
Yeah, to McCord's point, I think we're going to see at least a handful of really savvy marketers who have thought ahead back in the spring, thought ahead to how are they going to test and learn around some key initiatives, key tactics that will be really impactful in the future, and might be impactful this holiday season as well. Yeah. But it'll be obvious to us sort of as those tests unfold who those brands are, etc. I think there's a lot of, I have a lot of empathy for brands that have been doing things the same way for many, many moons, right? It's hard to motivate yourself to take a risky step into change, right? Change is hard. It feels like there's more potential for loss than for gain, etc. So the brands that do elect to jump in instead of just wading in, theoretically will get rewarded disproportionately, because the amount of learning about, say, conversational SEO in AI is going to be really valuable to a whole portfolio of SKUs. You might just jump in with 1 or 2 SKUs, right? Like, it doesn't have to be the whole catalog.
For sure.
It can be, just a pet SKU over here, and go see what happens, and then apply those learnings to a broader base.
And more generally, just on the multi-channel piece, on kind of a level we've been talking about for years, we know the functional funnel, the touch point funnel, the journey funnel has collapsed, at least, or whatever has happened to it. I think we're all looking for the final metaphor there. But we need to look at not only where they are in the touch point and wondering, okay, what context are they in with this brand relationship journey that I mentioned earlier? It's like, are they looking for a functional shift? Are they looking for an emotional shift? What connection do we need to bring them after that touch point? And, not only thinking about that journey in relation to, hey, they're going to go from offsite to search to an Ibotta program to purchase. But the emotional journey is one that, again, we can't short circuit. There's no way to break it, whether it happens in an instant or it happens over 5 years. It needs to happen. And I think that's the importance of multi-channel, thinking of it, thinking through both where they are, but also what they will be thinking within the brand so that you can properly contextualize it. I think a lot of things have been pushed so deeply on personalization, and I think ultimately that's where we'll need to go. But I think personalization at the moment is a very, 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 very tall order, and poor personalization is probably more harmful than good. So I think looking at these broader need states of where people are in relation to the brand is really going to be the stronger way to do it initially, rather than it's kind of that mid step to personalization is where is this group of people within their journey with the brand versus where is this individual person and what exact question are they asking? Although, what exact question are they asking? We will know that too in a lot of cases.
Definitely. What an interesting conversation with you both. Totally loved it, and I'm sure our audience would feel the same. And there were some great points that we've covered. Thank you so much for taking out the time to join Morgan and McCord.
Oh, thank you as always.
It was great. Really appreciate it.
We've come to the end of the episode. If you loved what you just listened to, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll be back next Monday with a really awesome guest. Stay tuned until then.